So the Ready or Not video is officially in the early stages of production. I've hit a few setbacks and still need to record my playthrough of the campaign and some more multiplayer sessions, but I'm hoping to start working on the script in the latter half of April. In the meantime, I'll try to kick a couple more micro-reviews out the door to keep you occupied. Thank you for your patience, and blame management for the delays, not me. You know, I wonder how games with unique ideas even get greenlit in this industry. And for the record, I'm talking about the whole industry, not just the AAA side of things. Yes, the indie market has produced plenty of gems over the years, but let's be real, it's also prone to spamming the same types of games over and over again. Holy shit, another game that's an allegory for depression? And what's this? An FPS that, wait, let me guess, is another old school boomer shooter with a snarky protagonist? Yo, let me grab my fucking wallet. With this in mind, I'm floored that something like Observation even made it past the elevator pitch. Hey, you know how you can look through security cams in Payday 2? What if that was the entire game? Bam, give me some cash. This is why I'm glad publishers like Devolver Digital exist, because they'll actually give these intriguing ideas the time of day. But an unorthodox premise doesn't always translate to a good game. So how did Observation turn out? Well, let's talk about it.
Sam, are you there? Respond.
I am here.
Oh, thank God.
So Observation puts you in the role of Sam, the artificial intelligence on board the low-orbit space station called Observation. The station's gone dark in the wake of a disastrous accident, and medical officer Emma Fisher appears to be the only survivor. She reactivates Sam and shortly after discovers that the station is no longer orbiting Earth, but the gas giant Saturn. Incidentally, Gas Giant was my nickname in high school. Anyway, now Emma must figure out what happened to the rest of the crew, how they ended up near Saturn, and why Sam is suddenly acting so strange.
Sam, is that you making that noise? Sam, respond! Cut off the noise! Sam, it's happening again! What are you doing? Sam, make it stop!
So let me get this out of the way. If you don't like slow games, you will hate Observation. A lot, probably. All this footage in the background of me slowly panning and shifting through cameras, that's the whole game. Fortunately, I'm a fan of slow games, but while I did walk away from Observation with mostly positive thoughts, it does have some quirks that keep me from praising it the way others have. In brief, it's a game in which the presentation does a lot of the heavy lifting, but man is the presentation stellar. What's commendable about Observation is that it doesn't chicken out on its premise. There aren't any sections where, I don't know, you play as Emma for a bit and shoot aliens or something. No. The whole time you'll be experiencing everything from Sam's point of view, that being exclusively through security cams and occasionally a little spear when you explore the station's exterior. There's an especially harrowing moment later on where Sam is jettisoned from the station, and you're treated to an unbroken sequence in which you drift through the emptiness of space for several minutes, in a way emphasizing how hopeless the situation appears. It's easy to see why critics love this game, and the first few hours hooked me. The limited point of view does wonders in creating tension, as it becomes hard to shake the feeling that something might be lurking out of view of the cam you're operating. Now, Observation didn't creep me out in the same way that the Mortuary Assistant did, but I found its atmosphere absorbing and its mystery compelling. It starts off as a straightforward sci-fi thriller similar to something like Gravity, but it slowly twists and turns into horror as it unfolds, and there are subtle details early on to hint it's going in that direction. I'm going to spoil my favorite detail, so you know the drill: pots on heads, forks in hands, clang away. So the second half of the game is pretty wild. It involves doppelgangers, time loops, you name it. Sounds like a lot, but Observation does a fantastic job of building up to its chaotic ending, dropping subtle hints from the first minute onward. My favorite being how Sam doesn't recognize Emma's voice at the beginning. It's effective because it happens immediately after the accident, so you're left wondering whether it was actually something nefarious or if Sam's systems were just out of whack when Emma started them up. It's a blink and you'll miss it moment, but if you do notice it, it hangs over your head the entire game, as any foreboding detail should. Good stuff.
Take a look. Someone is coming to get us, Sam.
Well, surely if you enjoyed everything else about the game, then you must have enjoyed the gameplay too, right? Funny you should say that, dear viewer, because I mostly didn't. Yeah, this is where my verdict gets complicated. I recommend Observation purely for its unique premise and suspenseful mystery, and not for its gameplay, which I thought was mostly tedious. Yes, being limited to the station's cameras is effective for the story and atmosphere, but from a gameplay standpoint, it wears pretty thin after a couple of hours, mainly due to how agonizingly slow the cameras move. Should fluid gameplay be sacrificed on the altar of immersion, is what I wrote in my notes after finishing the game. Maybe it wouldn't have been as obnoxious if half the puzzles didn't center around looking for notes and laptops in cluttered rooms, where pixel-perfect accuracy is needed to interact with them. Early on, it's fairly engaging, but by the end, I desperately wanted an option to turn up the sensitivity as I once again panned slowly back and forth looking for a note in yet another cluttered room. But frustrating though it was, it never killed my immersion, which is why this is still walking away with a recommendation. And to be clear, there were aspects of the gameplay I enjoyed. I liked all the sections where you pilot the sphere into space and examine the exterior, for example. Even the simple act of responding to Emma's commands was engaging. I enjoyed those moments because that's when I felt the gameplay was taking advantage of its unusual premise, rather than just playing like Five Nights at Freddy's in space.
The cameras in EAS 10 are failing to initialize.
Alright, I'll get that fixed for you now.
In summary, I'd recommend Observation if you like slow burn horror games with a heavy emphasis on atmosphere and storytelling. It ain't perfect, but then again, what is? Except Half-Life 2.
Space, space, I wanna go to space, space. Yes, please, space, 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 go to space, space, space. I wanna go to space, space, space.